Welcome to Breakfast Central. It's a rainy day here in the city of Lagos, and we can tell you that we're broadcasting from, which is in the heart of Lagos. It's actually raining cats and dogs, like they usually say. But then again, like they say too, the show must go on, and we must continue to bring to you all the latest details and updates concerning Nigeria's news and current affairs, plus the latest news where you may have left off from. We pick it up and let you in on every single detail and everything that happened. Well, today it's just going to be a duo and not a trio. That's because Olive will be off air for today and tomorrow. But don't worry, don't fret. Joe Hansen is here alongside the one and only, the man who travels across the world. I wonder what he's going to say this morning as he starts the show. Good morning, Binga.
Good morning, Joe. We're not going anywhere across the world this morning. We're reaching you live from the center of aquatic splendor, and it's real. I wonder what the roads would look like for those setting out to go to work this morning. Heavy rainfall this morning in Lagos, and we're reaching you live from the capital of Lagos, Ikeja, where it's raining cats and dogs, like Joe said. And we're here to bring you your daily dose of information, news, and great analysis from subject matter specialists and resource persons on the biggest issues making the rounds in the country. I am Benga Aborowa. You're welcome to the program.
Well, like we say, it's raining, and you could keep the comments coming on social media. We'd like to hear from you and also get your thoughts on some of the very interesting stories. Right from yesterday, a lot had happened in the past 24 hours from when we left off here in the studios. As soon as we got out, we've seen a lot of political stories crop up. The biggest one, so far so good, has got to do with the fact that a former vice president has said that he's looking forward to make this his final try, his last try, as he wants to run for president again. That statement, whether you like it or not, is bittersweet in the ears of so many people, especially even some ADC members who, in quotes, have called themselves the obedience, who have moved from the Labour Party to the ADC with expectations and high hopes that their principal or their leader, Peter Gregory, will be a former presidential candidate of 2023 under the Labour Party, now with the ADC, would clinch the ticket. So, there's been
it's
back
still,
and forth.
And then there's talks of if they will have a consensus candidate or not. But I understand why His Excellency, former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, made that statement. Age is not on his side, and he's been in the political ring since 1993. I mean, that's looking at 3 decades of active politicking. So how long could you try for? And I'm not sure what the arrangement is for slugging it out for the presidential ticket of the ADC. But one thing I know is because of the new electoral law and the timetable and the registration of party members that they've submitted to INEC, even if he fails in the convention, perhaps, I mean, he won't be able to jump ship to another political party with this new electoral act. So we wait to see how things will pan out. But the unwritten rule again is, 8 years, power rotates from the north to the south. President Tinubu has only spent 4 years. And many
going
people...
to 4 years.
Yes, going to 4 years. And many observers will be of the opinion that, look, for equity, justice, and balance, it should be the turn of the south. So they'll be looking at the ADC producing a southern candidate. So I guess we have to wait and see.
Yeah, we have to wait and see that. But that's a conversation we're going to have later on today. Today we'll have 2 strong APC chieftains join us on the program, and they'll be discussing especially what the plan is for the All Progressives Congress, looking at the fact that yesterday there seems to be a media chat. Unfortunately, there isn't so much talk on that media chat online anywhere, but there was a media chat with the national chairman and, of course, the secretary of the All Progressives Congress. But that aside, There's also an update. But let's start off our wake-up conversation this morning as you go online and let us know what your thoughts are on the stories. And is it raining where you are? Well, grief hung heavy in Maiduguri. That's where we're going to this morning as we start off wake-up conversation. In Maiduguri, as Nigeria bade a final farewell to Brigadier General Omo Brahima, Captain Ismail, and other soldiers who lost their lives in the line of duty at the hands of Boko Haram insurgents. At the Maimalari Cantonment Cemetery in Borno State, families, fellow soldiers, and top government officials gathered in solemn tribute to men who paid the ultimate price defending the nation. Draped in national colors, the coffins lay side by side as bugles sounded and gun salutes echoed, piercing the silence of the ceremony. Emotion spilled over as mothers wept, wives clutched memories, and children stood quietly as their loved ones were lowered into the earth. The fallen officers were accorded full military honors, with dignitaries including Governor Babagana Zulum of Borno State and senior military chiefs paying tribute to their courage and sacrifice. Even the Chief of Defense Staff was present, and also the ceremony served as a powerful reminder of the heavy human cost of the ongoing battle against insurgency. Let's take a pause and watch to see what happened yesterday.
And, there it is, a statement from the Nigerian Army. It says, in solemn and emotionally charged ceremony, the nation on Wednesday, April 15, 2026, laid to rest late Brigadier General Omo Brahima, Captain Azubuike Michael Esimai, and other gallant soldiers who paid the supreme price in the line of duty. The burial held at the Maimalari Cantonment Cemetery in Maiduguri, Borno State, was marked by deep sorrow, honor, and reflection. Amidst grieving families and fellow comrades, the fallen heroes were accorded full military honors in recognition of their selfless service and unwavering commitment to the defense of the nation. The sacrifices served as a poignant reminder of the heavy price paid daily by members of the armed forces to safeguard the peace, unity, and security of Nigeria. In attendance were the Executive Governor of Borno State, Professor Babagana Umaru Zulum, the Honorable Minister of Defense, General Christopher Musa, retired, the Chief of Defense Staff, and the Chief of Army Staff, and other senior military officers all gathered to honor the courage and dedication of the departed. In the tributes, the Governor, the Minister of Defense, the Chief of Defense Staff, and the Chief of Army Staff described the fallen soldiers as true patriots who stood firm in the face of danger and made the ultimate sacrifice so that others might live in safety. They noted that their bravery and sense of duty will continue to inspire generations and remain etched in the nation's history, and may their souls rest in peace. It's not an easy feat joining the armed forces and, being ready to lay down your life so that others, can sleep at night and have a sense of security. It's a very tough job, and unfortunately, they've lost their lives. But I hope lessons are learned from this. And in terms of coordination, better support for the armed forces in their battle against this criminal element in our society, terrorist element. And I hope all hands will be on deck. It's not just the military. All the stakeholders will do all they can to prevent this sort of attacks from happening.
I agree with you, Benga. But let's see what the governor of Borno State had to say in the midst of this moment, which many have tagged to be a very sad moment. Let's take a look.
Today we are gathered here in the Maimalari Military Cantonment Cemetery to witness yet another sad event, which is the burial of Brigadier General O.A. Brahima and other troops of the Operation Hadinkai. These gentle officers and men paid the supreme price while they are in the course of discharging their duties, protecting the lives and properties of the people of Borno State in particular, and in Nigeria in general. May their departed souls rest in peace. And may their families bear the fortitude of this irreparable loss. On behalf of the government and good people of Borno State, I want to convey my deepest condolences to the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Nigerian Armed Forces, to the Minister of Defense, the Chief of Defense Staff, the Chief of Army Staff, and indeed the theater commander, officers, and men of the Nigerian Armed Forces, and above all, to the families of the deceased over this sad event. Recently, the insurgents have adopted a trend of killing commanding officers, amongst others. It is a deliberate attempt to demoralize the officers, other officers and men in the field. And we shall do everything to reverse the trend. Inshallah, the worst is over. We witness.
Very
solemn and emotional.
Very emotional.
I mean, I can imagine how many times Professor Babagana Zulum has engaged in this sort of funerals since he became governor. It's almost like there's no respite in it. But I like the way he closes. It says, Inshallah, we shall prevail. And the prayer is that Nigeria and the armed forces prevail over this terrorist element in our society. Another thing he mentioned that I found quite instructive was that it's almost, I mean, at first I was assuming that, you know, the terrorists were just fighting with overwhelming force and the commanding officers were caught in the crossfire. But it seems like the governor said that it's almost a new tactic of these terrorists to target commanding officers. That's why we've been seeing loss of officers and senior commanding officers in the last few months. And that's a dangerous precedent for them to feel so emboldened to even target forward operational bases of Nigerian army troops. But like 2 weeks ago, they tried to overrun a barracks, and I mean, we were all celebrating when they were met with more firepower, and quite a number of them, up to 80 of them, were neutralized. And it's just, we need to put all hands on deck, because you're wondering, you've killed 80 today, where are they coming from? Where's the pipeline? That what are they using to recruit members? So you need to stop that recruitment pipeline that makes able-bodied men feel, you know, I can make a living from joining terrorists. They are not fighting for any noble cause or any cause. They're just crazy people that are out there causing carnage.
Yeah, I mean, apart from the ones who had come out sometime this week to say they're fighting to ensure that in Nigeria, particularly the Middle Belt, must be an Islamic state. There was a video, you know, that they put out. And Benga, it also, you know, surprises one that they do have their own videographer. They have their videographer, they create their own documentaries, you know, and they put it out there. And then you wonder why they say we're fighting against Western education. But Western education is one that taught you how to do cinematography and all of that. So you're using that as well. But anyway, not to deviate, let's come back to the video we just saw. I must say this. I know we've said this before on Breakfast Central. If you mention some of the governors who are working very hard, regardless of politics, you will mention Governor Babagana Zulum. And we've said this in time memorial, even when we had the opportunity to interview him here on Breakfast Central 2 years ago. And one of the things we mentioned was that he's one governor who has been faced with difficult challenges of insecurity, where at some point he decided himself to take the bull by the horn, to go at the front with the soldiers to push and see the possibilities of really ascertaining what the level of impact this insecurity has especially on the people of Borno State. And having seen that, that gives some form of reinforcement to the soldiers. And that's what gives confidence. But back to the fact of mention of what he said, they are now attacking generals. They're attacking, that
Commanding
alone
officers, yes.
is enough to cripple the morale
yes.
of the soldiers, seeing that, the generals are being killed. Soldiers can even ask.
Yeah, if a general can be killed,
Minko.
yeah, so what protections do I have?
What about me?
What hope?
And this is, it's tough. But the questions we want to look at after this is the fact that, one, how soon will this stop? Two, the president did meet with security chiefs two days ago. That's like the umpteenth time. We can't count how many times they've met. We understand that these things cannot be nipped in the bud immediately. We agree with that.
Yes.
But we're hoping that the strategies that are being deployed will eventually yield positive fruits. The question now is when? Because the longer it stays, the more unbearable it becomes, especially not just for Nigerians, but of course the military. So a lot needs to be done. I'm still asking, where's the United States of America? They had sent in troops to come and train. We've not seen
and
the
provide
impact. Yes.
extra intelligence. So
Yes.
what's really going on?
Security expert that joined us said, yes, sometimes these things will take, a little time for it to be activated. We're waiting. We're hoping that will happen soon. So, Gbenga, that's pretty much. But
let's see what
Nigerians
are
saying about that.
And keep your comments coming on YouTube.
Yes, I'm going to take some
them
comments on
immediately
YouTube
after
as well. But let's start with this one. He says, Nigerian army, you need to wake up. We salute your bravery in the face of terror, your discipline under fire, and your unwavering loyalty. It's time for you to wake up. You know what to do. Wake up, please, before it gets too late. We've lost so many high-ranking officers. Wake up. Momani, I think this is a form of a chant and inspiration. Telling the Nigerian army, wake up, wake up. Well, anyway, Philip OJK says, I believe the blood of our fallen soldiers will not and will never be in vain. Our army shall keep on defending Nigeria. Terrorists, get ready. Your doom days is near. That's what he says. Okay, doom days are near. I want to believe. Philip OJK says, another tweet, great men are falling every day and all they can get is last day salute and whatsoever display you guys carry out there. While the culprits, these bandits, walk about freely and still falling more gallant soldiers. Tell me how on earth should I join the Nigerian army? Now that is your opinion, but that's also a major question because we've seen calls for recruitment and, with the optics, everyone would want to have a think, but it is what it is. Sir Godwin Peter, you are telling us news that made majority of us have tears in our eyes. Where is the Nigerian army we once trusted with our doors open while we go to sleep? Where is the fearless Nigerian army? It's now a shadow of itself. What a shame a once shredded force now tools to death.
I wouldn't go as far as saying it's not a shadow of itself. It's not a shadow of itself. You're a man. I would like you to go and join the Nigerian army and see if you could do what they're doing. They're faced the course, they're stretched. They're answering to different calls across the Federation and they're doing their utmost best. What we should do at this point is not to, cast aspersions on them. It's to encourage them and also those who are responsible for providing them with necessary support should do their jobs. It's not an easy job being out there in the front lines and knowing that there's a possibility of paying the ultimate sacrifice. It takes men with guts and women to join the armed forces. You can't just sit behind a keyboard and say they're a shadow of themselves. Let's be sensitive in this sort of times.
Anthony says, Donald Trump abandoned all his engagements to receive the bodies of soldiers killed in Iran. But from the pictures, I can't see our president or his vice as these great heroes are laid to rest. How do we motivate our servicemen? We should do better. Well, Anthony is highlighting the fact that they were expecting the president to be there to give some form of motivation. Some have even just opposed former President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan's presence at the army front line when he went to visit them and encourage them during the time of Boko Haram wearing the army uniform. Camouflage, the uniform. And some have asked that why can't the current president also go there? Why wasn't he there yesterday? These are the questions. But you see, these questions, whether you like it or not, in the context of things as a country, they should also be looked into. Let's go to YouTube. in YouTube, let me take some comments there. Of course, Saint Ms. Johnson says, good morning, News Central Breakfast. Good morning to you. Hello, good morning, people of NC says. Goes on to say, may their soul rest in peace. That's from Saint Johnson. Okay. May their patriotic souls rest in peace. That's what everyone is saying on. Okay. Neji says he's crying. Yeah, it's a very sad one. Media Georgia says, I hope the family of the fallen soldiers are well taken care of after the death of their loved ones. I pray for their souls to rest in peace. Security needs to be tackled by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And then Michael says, hello, Joe, Olive, and Benga. Good morning to you. Oh, good morning to you, Michael. It's just myself and Benga today. And of course,
there's a question there by Media Georgia. It says, where's Olive, our YouTube prefect? Well, I can categorically tell you that I sent Olive to buy Opa. She will be coming back on Monday.
Oh my goodness. Let me take this one. The commanders are betrayed or exposed to the terrorists by the so-called repentant terrorists in the army. Well, we don't know that. Another one says, good morning, Joe Oliver, and my co-commenters. All right, so that's what we're going to take on YouTube. Keep the comments coming, and we'll take more comments. Let's move now to another story, a wake-up conversation. The Labour Party has intensified its internal shake-up, announcing the removal of key figures, including the following: Julius Abure, Lamidi Apapa, and Arabambi.
Wow.
What this is described as a decisive move to reposition the party. The development signals the start of what insiders call an internal cleansing process aimed at restoring order and strengthening party structures. As part of restructuring, the party has also announced new dates for its congresses and 2026 National Convention, beginning with the World Congress scheduled for April 23, as it moves to rebuild and consolidate ahead of future political contests. Let's just remind you of who these individuals are. On the screen there is the embattled Julius Abure. This is this is embattled Julius
Abure,
the former national chairman. He's former because you have a court injunction that mentioned that. And the man you see here is Lamidi Akpakpa, who also came out to say he's a chairman as well at some point, creating a faction. Everyone is asking where he is. I mean, he joined us on Breakfast about 3 years ago during this entire, and I mean, he's a regular on the show as well, always ready to speak. Very, very...
Mr. Arabambi.
Mr. Arabambi, very, very...
vocal.
Outspoken.
And passionate.
Individual and passionate, very passionate. We do hear that 3 of them have been suspended by the Nenadi Usman-led Labour Party, which has actually been, seen and approved, if you want to put it that way.
I mean, this might come as a political surprise to many people. Party. But again, maybe not a surprise, because what we've often seen in the recent past in conventions, the conventions are not just avenues to elect new leadership of political parties. They are also seen as a place where the stick is wielded. They might have been eaten.
Did you see this tweet?
Yes.
Let's pause this tweet. The person handling the Labour Party's X account, I really don't know who this person is, says we kindly donate Akpakpa, Abure, and Arabambi to APC. Affliction shall not arise a second time. Labour Party has risen. I really do.
And they're all A's, interestingly. Apapa, Abure, and Arabambi. It's almost like the 3 wise men. But I mean, being as vocal as they can, I don't think they'll take this line down. And I'm sure we'll speak to Mr. Arabambi in the next 24 hours. He will want to react.
We're ringing the bell for that.
It's worth it.
X, whoever is handling that X page, you have to be very careful.
Yes. Who told you the APC wants them?
Who told you the APC wants
But they have names, Arabambi, Apapa, and Abure. So APC, they might just want to. But like I was saying, conventions are not just for electing party leadership. They're also a place where disciplinary action has been carried out. If you recall, the now failed Ibadan PDP convention,
yes,
that was where Nyesom Wike and others were expelled. They were even issued certificate of expulsion. But look at the situation today. It's a different ballgame. So I don't know if this suspension will hold, because with this expulsion, because we've seen expulsions in the past, and people still carry on as party members. And now we've seen the expulsion of what many observers have tended to be the troublemakers of the Labour Party, those who have been the clog in the wheels of progress of the Labour Party. The names you can see on your screen, Abure Apapa and Arabambi, but I'm sure they're not going to go down without a fight. But
Absolutely.
I mean, the party, the Nafiu Usman led Labour Party, as recognized by INEC, has issued a notice of convention, and they've made this decision. So it's, I guess we'll just wait and see how it goes.
Well, let's see what Nigerians are saying about this, as the Labour Party seems to have bounced back, like they say. They said it will not happen the second time, that they've reasoned. I don't know if they were trying to link it with the, what's that popular Easter statement? But then again, let's see what Nigerians are saying. Lekon says, used and dumped like tissue paper. I hope they have collected their balance from APC. I don't know what you're talking about, but that's what Lekon has to say. Malcolm Rex says, the moment Peter Obi left the Labour Party, their relevance effectively faded. What we're witnessing now is not surprising. Once disconnected from their paymasters' influence, a sudden silence says it all. And Edie says, now won't do cleansing. Nonsense. That's what he says. I don't know if you had it. I just put that so that you can.
I'm sure that's what he, in the spirit of that message, it's very it's relevant.
That's what he said. Anyway, Henry Brew says, after every valuable asset in the party had left, funny enough, if Abure was a credible and ethical chairman, the LP would have been the platform, not ADC. He sold out. I'm sure the funds he was given has been depleted.
But why Arabambi though? He never claimed to be chairman. Why is it? Why was he grouped with these people?
He joined them later on. Or Stephen Ogundeji says, good news, remove the moles and re-strategize a full alliance. 2027 victory over APC is sure. I don't understand what he means. Don't forget that, anyway, Black Man, you guys want to start another Wahala, small piece that you enjoy for a few days, you want to dash it again. He says.
I mean, you might argue that it's a graveyard piece, and until they've done this cleansing now, that's when you have the real piece.
I mean, there's a tweet that I we just took, and that tweet simply said that as soon as Peter Obi left Labour Party, its relevance disappeared. I don't know if you agree with that.
I mean, Arabambi would argue otherwise, but I mean, as we speak this morning, Arabambi is no longer a member of the Labour Party, going by the news.
Hopefully, Arabambi will join us. I don't think he's going to agree with that, too.
I mean, they said they've expelled him. Who are we to say that he's still a member? If the Nafiu Usman-led Labour Party has issued an expulsion notice and letter to him, we're just going by what is out there, the information that is out there. So, as a former member, it would be nice.
Anyway,
it would be nice to know what he has to say about
the party statement.
Yes, I'm not the one that expelled him. I'm just saying that they have expelled him, and it would be nice to know what he feels about this expulsion.
Okay, let's go on YouTube. Let's see some comments. It says the removal of Julius Abure, Lamidi Akpapa, and the and Arabambi is a great omen for Labour Party. Unfortunately, LP is no longer relevant and won't win any seat or even get 20k votes. The sack was long overdue. They are the moles planted in LP by APC. We don't know that. That's your thought. Just like they did in PDP and also trying to do in ADC. That's Michael Obieku says. The other one was Michael Zeus. I think you said the other statement. Apapa Abure and Arabambi messed up that party. Moke Chukemeka says. Media Judge says Lamdi Apapa is a clown. He is quiet for now. And then he goes on to say, the election comes closer, he will start misbehaving. I think Apapa is a weapon fashioned against Peter Obi during his time in LP. Intruders always win at last, just like the PDP expelled members at Ibadan PDP convention. So expect Abure others to be in charge at the end. Did you hear that, Benga?
I mean, PDP is different from the Labour Party.
Yeah, I mean, there's no... anyway, Abure
the context of the expulsion is different from this one. So you can't... It's apples and grapes.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, that's what we're going to take on the Labour Party drama and the saga to look into. But please don't forget to keep your comments coming. I would like to take as many as possible. One of the big stories as well is what we discussed, still in line with the political parties. Benga and I did mention it when we started the show. It's got to do with former vice president, who was also been presidential candidate not just for once, twice, or three times, but even for five
So it's
times.
been a permanent fixture in the election
And
cycle.
he's come out to say, listen, I'm in the ADC. I'm looking forward to making my last time and my last showing. So we've asked a big question. Would this be a dent on the obedient and the obedient movement? Who have thought that...
I mean, it's not, the ADC is not just about these two personalities. There are also other heavyweights that will want to throw their hats in the ring. And being a democratic organization, they would have to find a way to go about, to go about organizing and selecting who their candidate will be. But what the APC will be praying for is a divided ADC, a fractured ADC, because when all those personalities, if they don't work in hand to oust the APC, or if they don't work together to support their anointed candidate, then it would make life easy, I mean, for the APC to win a re-election. So the jury's out there. We'll wait and see what method they would use in selecting their preferred presidential candidates, if it will be direct voting through delegates, or if they're going to go by adopting a consensus candidate. So I guess in a few weeks' time, when the National Convention happens, we would know.
That's right. Well, let's quickly also inform you that as we speak, the aviation sector is also another sector that might be facing stiff challenges. Plus, Agbenga News also broke that Nigeria's inflation rate went up yesterday too. These are some of the concerns and the stories that we'll be looking
expected,
at.
based on the increase in petrol price and the situation in the Middle East with the Straits of Hormuz. So, I mean, just yesterday we also received news from the World Bank, I guess, or is it IMF, the projected growth rate for this year has dropped.
4.4, now 4.1.
So I guess we keep observing and see how things pan out and how the government would respond to this news.
All right. Our final look on Wake Up Conversation has got to do with the story. Just in case you do not know, let's tell you that Nigerian domestic airlines have actually come forth. They've actually come and threatened to suspend operations nationwide. They've given April 20.
That's a serious one.
So Nigerian domestic airlines have fixed April 20, 2026 if the rising cost of aviation fuel is not addressed.
I mean, and there's only so much they can pass on to the consumer.
To the consumer.
I mean,
so
Christmas
they put out a letter. There's a communique they put out. The letter for April 14, 2026. They addressed it to the Executive Secretary of the Major Energies Marketers Association of Nigeria, MIMAN, Clement Song. The Airline Operators of Nigeria, AON, under the edges of that umbrella of domestic airlines in the country, described the rise in the price of aviation fuel as an astronomical and unsustainable increase. Top government officials, including President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the number one citizen of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Vice President Kashim Shettima, the Minister of Aviation, Festus Keyamo, the Director General of the Department of State Services, and others were copied in that letter. So what does this mean for us? Well, we're going to look into this, maybe sparingly, in our interviews with some experts who will be joining us pretty soon, because if they're threatening to shut down April 20, it means that if you're flying from Lagos to Abuja, Lagos to Kaduna, Kaduna to Kano, Akwa Ibom to Sokoto, you name it, you will not be able to fly anywhere. Those are all domestic routes.
But I really hope it doesn't get to that, because it will have serious implications on the Nigerian economy. And also, the alternative is something many Nigerians don't even think of. But let's look at that message by Airline Operators of Nigeria. I guess they've had it up to here, and everybody's feeling the bite. And there's only so much you can pass on to the consumers, and that's why they're saying, this increase is unsustainable. How can you go from 900 naira per litre just in February 28, a few weeks ago, to 3,300 naira per litre? I know we're operating a free market economy, we're a capitalist system, but free market doesn't mean just a free fall. Even in France, the government does intervene and provide some sort of subsidy for farmers here and there. No government is just going to sit by, fold its arms and, just hope for this phase to pass. I mean, an increase of 300% is, like they said, it's not commensurate with the increase in the price of tickets. And how do you pass on this burden to the people? They've even been trying for them to still be in operation. So I guess something has to be done. They need a sort of intervention at this point. It's really, really unsustainable.
Something needs to be done very quickly. And why we say so is because the letter you see there, it seems like the final straw for them. And the final straw being that they are indeed tired. The association is indeed tired. The umbrella body is saying enough is enough. From 909 to 3,300, 300%.
And Joe, let's be honest. This is not just the aviation sector. These issues are not peculiar to the aviation sector. Many private businesses, hoteliers, people are shutting down, restaurants, because how do you expect them to survive? You know, it's, well,
let's look at the implications of this. If you're just watching, well, that's the update that we have for you, and we just need to inform that with this announcement being made, it simply means that if April 20th is just around the corner, I mean, it's just a few days from now, you may not be able to travel from one state to the other, even interstate in Nigeria, because the association is simply saying that, listen, they cannot continue this way. But let's look at some of the things that we would love to ask, especially for those, the Minister of Aviation and Aeronautic Engineering, or you could say space.
Aerospace.
Aerospace.
Yes.
Put it together. One, fuel subsidy has been removed. People are asking questions, where is the excess revenue that's being made from fuel subsidy at this time? Two, there are record oil prices. Where is the excess revenue? That's another question. And then three, we do have a lot of exchange rate gains. Where is it? We have countries like Ghana, we have other countries like Kenya. The same Kenya the president had mentioned that Nigeria might be a far better land. Well, the Kenyans have also come out to debunk that and say, hey, no,
they're angry.
No, don't say that. Tell your president not to say that, because we have power. We have 24 hours of light. We're not asking that we're not putting solar, and so on and so forth.
And even their minimum wage too.
And our minimum wage is fantastic. They've also come out to say, listen, you can't compare that. So please, you people, Nigerians, go and review this. And I think it's critical that we ask, what can be done to help assuage the situation that Nigerians find themselves in? The federal government has maintained its stance that it's not going to go back on subsidy. But is it possible that experts have said, listen, you might want to look at maybe
a limited subsidy.
A limited subsidy to help cushion the effect? Because after all, like I said, you have excess revenue from the removal of subsidy in the past almost 3 years.
So the one thing the federal government has done in response to this energy crisis and the increase is that they've removed custom duties on electric vehicles, on a number of things. So they won't be paying tariffs for importation. But how far does that go? Is the implementation immediate? How much succor would it bring to business owners? We're talking of, I mean, people fly on a daily basis. It's a very technical and sensitive sector that you don't want people to start cutting corners. And every naira goes somewhere in aircraft maintenance and all of that. They can't be spending all their money on aviation fuel. And then from 900 to 3,300.
And then you wonder why. Remember the minister and the aviation the minister, they said we're going to probe the aviation sector during the dirty December period, and they need to come and explain how the fares were able to rise from a certain price till today. We've not heard anything from that probe. Was it just a lip service probe? What was done? Where is the communique that, after the probe, we had found out that the committee found out, sometimes we wonder if these statements are just made.
Are there also low-hanging fruits, like some of those multiple taxes that they pay at the airport that you could suspend for now so that the airlines can breathe? We really hope it doesn't get to that. But like you said, 20th of April is in a few days' time, so it's not something that is in the far future. So I guess the stakeholders will meet and come up with a decision very soon.
That's right. Today is the 16th, 4 more days to go. Let's wait. Let's hope and see and pray that it doesn't happen. I mean, since we love to pray. Let's bring to you our top stories this morning on Breakfast Central. Today on Breakfast Central, Army buries Brigadier General Brimer and others in Borno State. We've looked at that, a wake-up conversation, a very emotional moment. ADC 2026 Convention, the legal implication of INEC's absence. We're going to look at that, even though a lot of persons are talking, different explanations and so on. Nigeria's inflation hits 15.38%. All right. And then we'll go back and look at the ADC's reset party structure. Plus, we'll look at APC and some other conversations to have. We'll also look at the front pages of the newspapers. Stay with us. This is Breakfast Central.
You're welcome back to Breakfast Central. The controversy surrounding the 2026 convention of the African Democratic Congress is now taking a legal dimension, with questions mounting over the implication of the absence of the Independent National Electoral Commission. The electoral umpire, INEC, at the heart of the debate is whether the Commission's presence is mandatory for the validity of the party conventions, and what the law says when such oversight is either absent or disputed.
Well, while some party leaders insist the convention remains valid, others argue that INEC's role is critical in ensuring transparency and complies with electoral regulations. The dispute is now drawing the attention of legal experts, raising broader concerns about party governance, electoral oversight, and the interpretation of Nigeria's electoral laws ahead of the 2027 elections. To break down the legal implications of this development, we're joined by human rights lawyer Festus Ogun and principal partner at Legi Domini, Nathaniel Ojobo. So we have two legal experts who are here in the studio with us. Despite the rain, thank you, gentlemen, for bracing the odds.
Welcome, gentlemen.
My pleasure.
Thank you. Let me start with you, Barrister Festus. This is another one that we're seeing, interpretation upon interpretation. I was starting to have issues where many have, in quotes, some, let me not use the word many, some very important figures have said it's like when statements are made, pronouncements are made, rather than make clarity, it brings about a bit of confusion, allowing others to start making interpretations for themselves. And this seems to be the order of the day. But under Nigeria's law, is INEC's presence mandatory for a political party's convention to actually be valid?
I will start by saying the law requires that INEC ought to be notified of any convention, or perhaps if any activity of a political party, especially as it relates to its leadership and the conduct of election. Now, what the law requires is for INEC to be notified and INEC to be present. Now, in a situation where INEC has been notified, but INEC feels, neglects, or refuses to make themselves available, that convention remains valid as far as the law is concerned. That is to mean that so long as the political party has discharged its statutory obligation and responsibility by notifying INEC of the proposed convention, the proposed primary election, the proposed merger, in case of merger of political parties, if INEC now chooses to say, well, we are not coming, or they neglect to make themselves available, then the political party cannot be blamed because the political party has done what the law requires that they should do, or it should do. In that event, I believe that the convention held by the ADC is valid, is constitutional, and is within the ambit of law. And I do not think that the absence of INEC would invalidate it howsoever, because INEC has been notified by the ADC. So if INEC says it's not, if INEC decides not to attend the convention, then it is INEC's kettle of fish. But ADC has done what the law requires it to do. Because one danger that it presents is that if we are now saying that every convention or every activity of a political party that INEC fails to monitor or fails to be present in is invalid, that will create absurdity. Because there are instances where INEC, for one reason or the other, especially the INEC of today, for one reason or the other, they do not make themselves available. so long as the political party has provided what the law or has complied with what the law has required, which is to notify INEC within the stipulated time frame, I think ADC is covered, if you ask me.
Oh, you think they're covered? Let me come to a second lawyer in the studio. There was a ruling by the Court of Appeal that said it doesn't recognize the David Mark-led NWC of the ADC and asked them to return to status quo antebellum. And as a result of that, they said they won't have any correspondence with them. So, but the ADC has gone ahead to hold its convention. Did the ADC run foul of the law by going ahead with this convention, knowing that INEC has said, look, we want you to go back to status quo antebellum, and we don't recognize this leadership?
All right. Now, I think it's important to clarify on the question before I give an answer, a direct answer to the question. The Court of Appeal made a clear, very clear position. And I should mention that this position is one which, at law, is made to ensure orderliness. When a court makes a declaration stating that the status quo antebellum should be observed, what that simply means, first and foremost, that's a Latin maxim. What that simply means, literally, is the position of affairs before the war. Applying it to the facts at hand, the state of affairs just before the fracas in the ADC ensued. And that was the position of the Court of Appeal.
So how do you interpret that?
Now, if you look at that critically, we have to then go back to sometime in July last year when Nwosu, the then chairman of the ADC, had resigned. Remember that it was just after his resignation that the NWC, the National Working Committee of the ADC, was constituted by the political party, and that NWC was led by one-time Senate President, Senator David Mark.
And recognized by INEC.
Well, as of then,
yes.
As of that time. Of course, documentations and what have you were sent from the party to INEC to let INEC know that this is the position of affairs as of this time. Thereafter, we had a situation where Nafiu Bala-Gombe came up to say, look, I did not join Nwosu to resign. I am still a member of this party. I am still the assistant or the deputy chairman of this party, and by natural flow,
hierarchy, yeah.
By natural flow, I should become the national chairman of this party. Whether his position is correct or not, to identify what the status quo before the fracas ensued by what I have just mentioned, you will have to go back to the time just before that argument between Nafiu Bello's camp and David Mark's camp ensued. And so for me, when you analyze the position just before, or they analyze the position just upon the position of the Court of Appeal, one would not be amiss as to what the legal position is. And that is, as of the time when that, what is it called now, that issue arose, just before the issue arose, it was...
You know, I like what is happening this morning, because observers at home will be wondering, because we've been getting different interpretations from lawyers, and they have, there's a lot of... Even in this studio, as small as we are, there's a disagreement.
I was in my thoughts. I was expressing my thoughts just before I was put out. I think when we analyze issues, especially as lawyers, we should make sure to give the legal interpretation of judicial pronouncements as it should be. That is why we are lawyers, to make the interpretation exactly as it should be. The meaning of status quo antebellum is not amiss. It is not something to try to give a different meaning about. It is clear. And so when you define the terminology or the phraseology, apply it to the position of affairs in the party as of that time. It is clear that it was when Nwosu was the chairman of the party that that position will have to refer to. Not any time before, not any time afterwards. Because everything that happened afterwards became the genesis, became the foundation upon which this whole fracas is now hinged on. And so let's not have it mistaken. Let's not try to put things outside of the context of
You have a fellow lawyer here that
Yes.
seems to be in disagreement with your position.
Yeah, he's entitled to his right to have a different view.
Remember that it took months before Nafiu Bala-Gombe came up. It took months after the NWC took charge of the ADC. The current embattled former Deputy National Chairman, Nafiu Bala-Gombe, before he came out, it took months. He didn't just come out immediately as soon as the NWC was constituted. So that period, that 2 months,
gives room for doubt as to his intentions.
That was peaceful, because it was peaceful. He attended all the meetings. That's what the ADC is saying. They have proof, they have pictures, they have documents. He even signed
videos
of his resignation. He signed, even though he's coming to say, oh, the signature was forged. So ADC is saying, where is antebellum coming from? Because after we were inaugurated,
there was peace.
There was peace. He even attended some of our...
which war are you talking about?
Pictures here. Look
Which
at
war
him
are you
here.
talking about?
Look at him even happy here. Look at him smiling at so-so person's house. So we're good. But 2 months later, he now came up and said, excuse me, I'm not happy with what is going on. So that's where the antebellum issue comes from. Because there was peace after the NWC, the ADC took... But let's say, I just wanted to highlight that so that
yes,
clear.
that context is very important. You know, let's start from how it started. Nafiu Gombe approached the Federal High Court in Abuja for the court's intervention. He sought an ex parte order. An ex parte order means an order gotten or sought to be obtained behind the defendant due to urgency and whatnot. In place of granting the order, the court asked that the defendant should come to the court and show cause why the order should not be granted. INEC came to court to say, well, court, don't grant this interim order because court does not have jurisdiction to entertain this matter. An affidavit sworn on the 12th of September 2025. Now, David Mark said, look, no, I can't come to this court to show cause because this court does not have jurisdiction to even make any order. Because the position of the law, as it is and as it has been, even before the enactment of the 2026 Electoral Act, is that court does not have jurisdiction into the question of leadership or membership of a political party, or even all these issues of convention, any internal affair issue of a political party. The court lacks jurisdiction, APC and Moses. Now, at the Court of Appeal did not agree with the Senator David Mark on the basis that he ought to have simply gone to the court to show cause, just the way INEC showed cause, saying that the court does not have jurisdiction. In doing that, the court now made an order that parties to maintain status quo. Now, INEC, in its interpretation, says status quo means that there should be no leadership. We have said that position, with the greatest respect, is wrong.
Okay, status quo antebellum.
Antebellum, yes.
Let's add the
you see, look,
okay.
all this,
very important.
Look,
because that's the point I was going to come to.
Look.
Status quo antebellum is not the same as status quo. But
hold on.
Yes.
We are making distinction without difference. It's just a short form. Status quo antebellum. It's just a short form. In any event, the court ordered status quo antebellum. Now, INEC says it means that everybody, that the David Mark faction that were earlier enlisted should be removed. I said that position again is wrong and mischievous. Why do I make this bold and categorical statement? The answer is because the courts have held, in peculiar circumstances, that status quo antebellum means that the status, as at the time of filing the action, and I am relying on the case of Ayorinde and AG of Oyo State, where the Court of Appeal has said it means the situation as at the time of filing the action. What is the situation as at the time of filing the action? It was
David Mark.
It was David Mark's leadership. And we also have to note that, you see, election-related matter, political parties matters, constitutional matters are sui generis. They are special. They are of their own kind. It is not and can never be the intention of the law for a political party to be rendered leaderless just because a matter is in court. And we must not also forget that INEC is aware that the court lacks jurisdiction in that matter. Now, let's be very clear.
But INEC has senior advocates of
it doesn't matter. They know that the court lacks jurisdiction. They sworn to an affidavit on the 12th of September saying that the court lacks jurisdiction. I learned that they have withdrawn that affidavit. But whether they have withdrawn it or not, the position of the law remains very clear. Now, to the last point. The Federal High Court, because the Court of Appeal ordered that status quo antebellum should be maintained pending the determination of the suit at the Federal High Court. Now, early this week, the Federal High Court has said, because the matter is at the Supreme Court, I can no longer entertain the matter. As at now. So the matter was adjourned sine die. What does that mean? It was adjourned till the Supreme Court makes a pronouncement.
April 22nd.
April 22nd. That's the hearing, not the pronouncement.
The hearing,
anyway.
rather.
What does that mean? And the Court of Appeal had already said that the parties should maintain status quo pending the determination of the suit by the Federal High Court. Now the Federal High Court is saying, I cannot say anything about it until the Supreme Court decides. So what happens to the order that the position that INEC has taken? Now, they are before the Supreme Court to seek the interpretation of court, whether the Federal High Court can even make an order saying come and show cause when the court does not have jurisdiction in the first place. When the court does not have jurisdiction, the only jurisdiction it has only one jurisdiction.
Which is?
To determine whether it has jurisdiction. That is the only jurisdiction it has. When the question of jurisdiction is placed before the court cannot make any other order. And look at it. A courageous judge in Katsina that earlier made an order maintaining status quo has recounted his position courageously to say, look, the earlier order I made,
I think I saw that,
should be vacated simply because I do not have jurisdiction. Section 83 of the Electoral Act says court must not give any interim order on issues relating to the internal affair of a political party. So, why should we find ourselves in this kind of situation? It is not, I'm saying again, that it is not the intention of law for a political party to be rendered leaderless just because a matter is in court. And I saw something that is very striking. Do you notice that it is only Nafiu Bala-Gombe that filed that action in court? Only Nafiu Bala-Gombe, who is claiming to be the chairman of the party. Let's even assume that he is correct. Does that affect other leadership structure of the party? Why should the entire leadership structure of the party be struck down? It's a question seriously, profusely begging for answer. Nafiu Bala-Gombe only went to court.
We learned that INEC is also a third. INEC is...
It was only Nafiu Bala-Gombe that filed the action in court. It's not as though it was Nafiu Bala-Gombe and all others. It was only Nafiu Bala-Gombe who is saying is the chairman of the party. Or he should be the chairman of the party. Let's even assume for the purpose of argument that Nafiu Bala-Gombe is wrong. When the court now says status quo antebellum be maintained, even those other National Working Committee members who were not part of the suit are now affected by the outcome of the suit. That is injustice. So the interpretation, if you look at it, even assuming that they were even right, the interpretation is mischievous and completely unacceptable. Why are you saying that it was only Nafiu Bala-Gombe that filed the action in court, saying he ought to be the leader of the party? Then it should affect only Senator David Mark, not the entire leadership structure. INEC should apologize to Nigerians.
Nathaniel, do you think INEC should apologize to Nigerians or hold a different view?
So it's always important that, again, I should mention that it's always important that as lawyers we speak on the basis of law, not emotions and from any other background. Let's go back to the legal regime guiding elections in this country, which is the Electoral Act. That law, by virtue of Section 82 thereof, and just for the purpose of establishing the position, to the extent of my learned friend's earlier submissions, that what a political party needs to do by provision of law, particularly Section 82 of the Electoral Act, is to simply notify INEC at least 21 days before any of its intra-party activities, particularly conventions, congresses at the level of the ward, the local government and the state level, a registered political party. It therefore means that the only conditions, two conditions, substantive or major two conditions that a political party must make out is that the political party is registered with INEC and that it has given the due notice. Now, ADC's position, particularly from the David Mark-led faction, is that sometime on the 26th of February and sometime in March this year, they had given prior notice. And then, of course, if you put up a mathematical computation of this period, you would find out that they had met that requirement. I also do agree that after making out this notice, it is no longer the party's responsibility. As a matter of fact, if you consider either subsection 3 or 4, I'm not sure now, of Section 82 of the Electoral Act, there is a clear position that mandates INEC. The word used there is shall. It doesn't even give INEC the discretion.
It's not conditional.
It is not at all. It says INEC shall. And so I think what INEC is leveraging on now is to say, look, because the proclamation or the declaration of the Court of Appeal is that we should maintain status quo ante bellum, which I should mention is not the same as status quo. For just to clarify, which I should mention for the purpose of educating the general public, it's not the same as status quo. Status quo, if a court says status quo, what it means is the position as of that moment, parties should not take any action other than what they have done.
Before they came to court.
No, other than what they have done before that moment in court. Any further action from the moment of the declaration that the matter or that status quo be maintained. No such step should be taken after that point. But status quo antebellum is to reverse the hand of time, to reverse the clock to an earlier time or an earlier position in time, as though what had happened from the earlier time till this time in moment had never happened. And the court's position is that status quo antebellum be observed. Now, the question that begs for an answer really is, what point in time should INEC observe or start observing from? They have taken the liberty to say, we will not, because of course, for me, that is even strange. They have said they will not even observe any of the leadership structure, which is why they are taking out this position they are taking out. And so again, on another point in agreeing with my learned friend, even though, of course, I have mentioned my dissenting views as against his earlier views, but I agree with him to the extent that it is not INEC's responsibility to determine or to make out a position that enforces or foists on a party a leaderless structure. That is not supposed to be. So what I think INEC should have done is to strictly follow the proclamation or the declaration of the Court of Appeal, putting things side by side the provisions of Section 82 of the Act. Observe the internal workings, the Congress, the meetings, and all of that of the party. If it is stated, because of course the idea of putting things status quo antebellum, the legal idea, is so that a fait accompli is not foisted on the parties. What is a fait accompli? It is a difficulty that is such that it is so difficult not to be reversed or impossible to be reversed. And so the question that now arises is, if INEC would have gone ahead to observe that Congress of ADC, would it have put on the parties in the matter, whether Nafiu Bala-Gombe or David Mark and his team, in a situation such that it would have been hard for them to reverse if eventually it is decided whether in favor of David Mark or Nafiu Bala-Gombe, that either of them would be the chairman of the party?
They decided not to.
Well, I wouldn't say that they were not neutral. I would say that they have further gone ahead to create confusion, because again, if you look at the position of affairs, it is not like they have said Nafiu Bala-Gombe is the chairman of the party. Neither have they recognized him. It is also not as if INEC has said David Mark is the chairman, neither have they recognized him. So to that extent, I would say, strictly speaking, they have maintained neutrality to that extent. But what I would say, what I would clarify, just a minute, what I would clarify is INEC has put on Nigerians, or rather on the internal party structure of ADC, a confusing situation, such that, as it were, You now even allow for a more confusing situation to exist beyond what was before you made out your position.
You also mentioned something quite instructive, and I want us to clear the air on that. You said the word David Mack faction. Could he be said to be a faction when there's only one individual that is the troublemaker on the other side? Sort of. I use the term loosely, because he doesn't have a national, Nafiu Bala-Gombe doesn't have national publicity secretary, he doesn't have all the organs that make
to make out his own faction.
Yes.
Now,
so is it really a faction?
I think the facts should be gotten straight. By my comments, which I will make now, it is not to say I take sides with any of the parties, but I think Nafiu Bala-Gombe actually has people with him on his camp or in his camp. Yep. He has people with him.
But is it enough to call it a faction?
Well, again, it is their right to determine as they choose to operate whatever it is they are doing. So what I'm saying in essence is Nafiu Bala-Gombe may have instituted the action on his own, but it doesn't mean he doesn't have people who support. As a matter of fact, shortly, I think the convention of the ADC as per the David Mack faction was conducted on Tuesday, just 2 days ago.
Yes.
Shortly afterwards, some persons on the Bala-Gombe faction came out to make comments deprecating the fact of the conduction of that Congress of the party. So Nafiu Bala-Gombe is not alone. He actually has people who support him fully, very fully. Let's not mistake that fact.
I'm going to bring that up. We have to go on a break, but when we come back, I want us to look at another person. There's another person who has come from nowhere. And I want to understand what the law really says, and that's what we want to do this morning. Just right during the convention, a court received another, entertained a case from a Don Norman Obinna, okay, who happens to be an embattled,
a former wanted. I don't even know if he's still wanted.
Of the ADC. The court, we need to know, is the court so open that anybody can just, somebody who had wanted, he was wanted by the police. I mean, we're journalists, so we need to highlight these things. He was wanted by the police. And then he can just walk into the court freely and say, they are doing convention, I want to stop it. Yeah, and the court says, okay, bring it. Oh, yeah, entertain it to sign. Because we have the documents online. Even though we hear later it was dismissed immediately and come on, take this thing off. So we need to understand that. But let's go on a quick break. Stay with us. Don't forget to drop a comment or two and let us know what you think about the conversations we're having. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Unfortunately, we have just a few more minutes to go on this conversation. Well, let's try as much as possible to milk it. So let's try and close out on some of the questions we've asked. One, we agree that as long as a political party tells INEC 21 days before its convention or congress, it now behoves on INEC to show up or decide not to show up. That decision is left for INEC.
They do not have the, they must. The word
mandatory.
The word used in the provisions of subsection 3 of section 82 is shall. There's a mandate on them to show up.
Okay.
They do not have a discretion on the matter.
Okay. So ADC says they did that. So they said they did that.
Yes.
They sent a letter. They have proof.
On two occasions.
Yes. The spokesperson, Arubeshola, former governor
of Osun State.
That's one. Two. Let's go to the question I asked earlier before the break. A certain Don Norman, while it was on, quickly took it up to the Federal High Court in Abuja to stop the convention. He took that case up, even though we hear that that issue was struck out. What does the court, or what does it hold, especially from the judiciary, where internal party wranglings are on, and then you have different members of the party appearing from nowhere and going to the court, and then the court entertains such and then acts immediately on it. Nigerians are worried and concerned about, because what it means is in the future, I just need to wait for Mr. Festus to set up a political party, and I'll come out and say I'm his friend, and I show this video on screen. Look at all of us were here together. I want to stop him from going for.
Isn't it wasting the times, the court's time?
Well, let's start from the foundation. The law is that the court does not have jurisdiction over internal party affairs. Now, the Electoral Act under Section 83 has also said that not only does the court lack jurisdiction over internal party affairs, it also is stopped from making any other interim or interlocutory injunction or orders in such a matter. They didn't stop at that. It says any lawyer that filed that kind of suit will be penalized 10 million naira. The person that files the suit would also be penalized for 10 million naira, which is a very progressive and very commendable innovation in the Electoral Act 2026. Now, some lawyers might argue that, under Section 6 of the Constitution, we have the right to approach the court. But when you know that a matter is an internal affair of a political party or borders on the internal affair of a political and the court does not have jurisdiction, why should you file such an action? It's an abuse. It's not only an abuse of judicial process, it's a professional misconduct.
So what Don Norman did is essentially an abuse.
It's any matter filed in court that borders on the internal affair of a political party. Borders is essentially not justiciable. The court does not have jurisdiction and it's an abuse. Let me give an instance. But it seems, I don't know what is happening. Maybe we are just not learning, or politicians are just making use of some of our colleagues to abuse judicial process and further their interest. Look at it. It happened, was it not last year, that some persons went to court over the leadership crisis in ADC. And the Federal High Court judge made an order, one way or the other, recognizing the Abure-led faction. The Supreme Court said no in the case of Usman and Labour Party. The Supreme Court said no. Issues of leadership, you can't, under any guise, no matter how the coloration you give it, no matter how you disguise it, once it's an issue bordering on the leadership, the membership of a political party, issues of convention, issues on party congresses, the court lacks jurisdiction. The Supreme Court called it a no-go area. Consistently, the Supreme Court has been saying this even before it is now codified inside the Electoral Act 2026. So, if as a lawyer, I'm aware now, I've been saying it, I've been everywhere saying the court does not have jurisdiction, and you come to me, to my chambers, and say, Mr. Ogun, there is a leadership crisis in our party. This person has done this to me. This person has done that to me. It is unfair. It is unjust. This and that. That is what they tell you. Yes, I know it is unfair. But the court has said, well, whatever happens within a political party,
It's your internal
wranglings. And that it's a voluntary association. If you are not satisfied with what is happening, follow the internal mechanism process. The court has said we don't have jurisdiction. And it's over a decade that the court has been saying that. It is not a new provision. What the Electoral Act only did is that what the Supreme Court has been saying all the while, it now codified it as a law beyond a case law.
With penalties. Yeah.
With penalties. So, if any lawyer files it, the lawyer is at risk of paying 10 million naira as a fine. And every lawyer knows the implication when the court continues to fine you for filing abusive process in court. We as lawyers have to help our democracy. Nigeria's democracy is hemorrhaging, is dying. So what we need to do as lawyers is to stand by the dictate of law. You cannot say because, well, we can approach the court. Yes, I know you can approach the court, but the same law has said, look, this kind of matters should not be filed. So because you want to test, lawyers will say, you want to test the law. You don't test the law in abusing the judicial process. You don't test the law just to obtain an antebellum order.
Could this be the reason
just
why?
to prejudice other persons in
Sally,
political
we're almost out of
process?
time, but let me pass the question to him. Benga, if you don't mind. Could this be the reason why, the Chief Justice of Nigeria earlier on come out to say that there's a lot of challenges within the system and she needs to do a lot of cleansing? Because truly with what you've said, it kind of like, if one is not careful, one might start to pinpoint the CJN as being the issue. But she has said it's a tough one because she might be dealing with these issues and she's wondering what is really happening.
Okay, is that for me or him?
That's for you. Just to...
Well, so the fact remains that I wanted to just add a caveat.
Okay.
It's just like, for example, when you have a law saying people shouldn't steal. If you steal, it's a crime. Does that stop people from stealing? People know that stealing is a crime.
But
they know what is in it. If they choose to defy that law, they know what they stand to face.
But lawyers are held to a higher standard.
Exactly. I agree. Yeah. I'm simply saying it's just inherent in human behavior to do as they deem fit. And that is why the court is called a court of justice. A court that ensures that justice abides, that justice reigns. So to that extent, when people bring this, and that's why you have a fine. You have not just a 1 million fine, not a 5 million fine, but a 10 million. So any lawyer who perhaps has the notion to want to go ahead and perhaps, for example, the professional fee you are earning from the brief is in the region of 5 million, you have to think very well before you go ahead, because you could end up, you know,
in the negative.
Exactly, and all of that. So you have to be careful. Now on the position of the CJN, I mean, it's been said over and over again, even for the umpteenth time. Lawyers need to do better. Lawyers need to hold up to the standards. And like he said, lawyers are held to a higher calling, a higher standard. So to that extent, I agree that lawyers need to do better. We need to advise clients. I can tell you for free that severally I've had a situation, or situations as a matter of fact, where clients come to me, they try to nudge you on, even offer really very enticing fees, you know, and all of that. But you have to really and truly advise them and let them know the fact of what the position is. Of course, it is now dependent on them to accept your advice or not. But for you as a lawyer, you know the position and you have to uphold the position.
Thank you so much.
That's that about it.
I mean, thank you. I think
thank you, Nathaniel.
Made this very interesting and, you know, clear to understand. Thank you, Nathaniel. Thank you, Barrister Nathaniel. Thank you, Barrister.
Thank you for having me.
Festus. We'll go on a quick break. When we come back, we'll be joined by some members of the incumbent as we look at the situation of things ahead of 2027. Stay with us. Welcome back. The African Democratic Congress, ADC, earlier this week pushed through its 2026 National Convention in Abuja despite the Supreme Court's adjournment to April 22 for the case of INEC's refusal to recognize either faction of the party, a conversation we just had with two legal luminaries. But David Marks-led NWC called the convention a defining moment for opposition politics. Was it truly a defining moment for the party or another case of self-sabotage? And does the outcome of the convention pose a credible challenge to the ruling All Progressives Congress APC ahead of the 2027 elections? Now, take note. From every quarters you go to, there seems to be a disparity where APC members are saying that the convention meant nothing because it's going to be null and void. Besides, they're not afraid of the coalition, as it is called. But don't take our words for it. Let's dig deeper this morning. Joining us for the discussion, we do have APC chieftain and former Delta State gubernatorial candidate, Dr. Odiakpo Obire. And we look forward to also have another guest join us. He's a former federal lawmaker who is also an APC chieftain, Honorable Cletus Obu, to speak on the APC stance, whether they are indeed shaking, looking forward to 2027, and with any fear or trepidation, or they're just ready for what it is. Thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Obire.
Thank you for having me. Good morning.
Okay, let's start with you. Hopefully, our next guest will be able to join us as well. Let's talk about the ADC convention. Any shivers down the spine of APC, or better still, do you think it was also like a member of your party said at Amala, or not your party, the PDP, said at Amala convention? Maybe we don't know what we'll tag this one. But what do you make of the convention? Any fears, any shivers down the spine of APC, any worries?
Well, thank you very much for this question. It's laughable when anybody says that APC is afraid or APC is scared of anybody. In the first place, the coalition you're talking about, we are not really perturbed because we don't see the caliber of people that are there that will prick our fears as a party. These are group of people that have been part of the problems that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is trying to solve today. Some of them from the supposed national chairman to the big wigs you have in the party, They were all part of the previous governments that have run the country aground. So when people talk about coalition, we expect to see a new breed of people with credibility, people who have not really been on the scene, on the political scene, with so much vigor and something to offer Nigerians, and not these people that have put us where we are, that we are trying to find our way out. Now, coming to the convention, the party, as a political party, they need to follow by the rules. When INEC says that they cannot recognize either of the fashion of the party, David Mark-led fashion and the other young fellow, it is very simple. These are internal issues. And when you have internal issues, you resolve them internally and not putting the blame on INEC or putting the blame on the ruling party, because there's no member of the ruling party, including Asiwaju, that is a member of ADC. ADC took ADC to court, and the court has decided. And INEC is saying that with the decision of the court, we cannot recognize either of the fashion, which simply means that the party itself lacks leadership at the moment. Now, a fashion of the same party that is not recognized by, that INEC did not recognize their leadership, have gone to gather somewhere and held a kangaroo convention that INEC did not supervise. So you cannot force the law. You cannot go above the law. I said this in my last appearance on your sister company, Arise TV. And I said, they still have the opportunity to address the issue, call themselves together, those that are aggrieved, that felt that their party has been broken into, somebody entered through the back door, according to Dumebi, and they are occupying the premises, whereby the ownership of this party have been pushed aside. You don't expect them to just fold their hands, because you have big wigs coming into the party. And it's appalling to see that people like Atiku Abubakar, people like Rabiu Kwankwaso, people like Amechi and all that, even our past national chairman, Odige Oyegu, you see all these people, these are very seasoned, David Mark and all that, Rauf Arigbeshola, these are very seasoned politicians who should know the rules of politicking. So you cannot bulldoze your way. It is as simple as ABC.
Thank you, Dr. Obi. If I may come in, yes. If I may come in at this point, you've mentioned quite a lot of things in your opening statement. You say the APC is not perturbed by the opposition and what they're doing. And the logical question that will come to the minds of Nigerians is why then is the APC fingered in the internal disputes? They say the APC rather, has a hand in the discordant tunes that some of these opposition parties are witnessing, that is the unseen hand in the Labour Party crisis, in the PDP crisis, and also the newly constituted ADC crisis. You also said that looking at the makeup of some of the members of the ADC, that they were in the previous government that ran Nigeria to the ground. I would like to remind you that a lot of them were in your party, the APC. So are you inadvertently trying to say that your party was also responsible for running Nigeria to the ground?
My party is not part of the parties that have run the country aground.
But based on character evidence, a lot of the members of the current ADC were even senior government ministers in your party as at 3 years ago.
Yes. First of all, what you should know is that when people take an office or get into office, what they do is what is seen by the people. These people that you're talking about, yes, some of them were part of our last administration, okay? And some of them had done woefully, even in the last administration. But seeing Buhari, former President Muhammadu Buhari, a man who left his ministers to do what they actually want to do, and we saw, the country saw everything. We saw everything. But at this stage, we have a man who is in charge of a situation that Nigeria has become, and is taking us to where Nigeria should go. But these problems are not problems that were caused overnight. These are long-term issues that has been there for decades. So people feel that we are not doing anything because the problems were actually enormous when we came in. But as of today, there's a pathway. Nigeria is seeing something different. But these people that are hungry for power, they want to do everything possible to bring us back to where we are. But I think Nigerians wouldn't want to go back to that Egypt. So I cannot sit down here and tell you that, oh, APC is wholly part of the problems of Nigeria. No. When you look at all these people that you are even mentioning, they have also been part of, when I say they run the country aground, some of them that you mentioned that were in our previous administration were also in the PDP leadership in the past before coming to join APC in 2015. So you can see that when you give people an opportunity and a chance to prove that they were not what they were, and they continue to be what they were after giving that opportunity, that is the problem APC has found itself. That's last administration.
Okay, so Dr. Biri, I mean, I know I would just like to ask, I mean, if we could get your responses short so that we can have more questions and try to utilize the time. But I did get your point. So in other words, you're saying that even though these persons were part of your party and they've moved out, that, in other words, can we categorically say, I mean, for want of words, that they were the bad eggs then, and now they've left, so it means that your party has been cleansed, you wouldn't have any more persons to taint the image and what the party should go through. Nobody would taint the image of the party. It's smooth sail from here. Is that what you mean?
Yes.
Okay. All right. But are you also aware that currently, as we speak, you did highlight something. You say the convention that was held by the ADC, that they cannot force the law. Are you aware that they had issued INEC a letter, 21 days notice ahead of time? Are you aware of that?
It's not about issuing INEC a letter. The question is, what is the authenticity of the people who signed that letter that is sent to INEC. INEC is not recognizing either of them. So how can that letter be?
Okay, but are you also aware?
Valid?
I'm sure you were joined in terms of you joined us while we had the conversation not too long ago with some lawyers, some young, professional lawyers who joined us here. That INEC actually took a stand without getting a clear interpretation. In other words, if INEC said status quo interbellum, INEC removed both Ralph Nwosu and David Mark, therefore leaving the party without a leader. And the lawyers have said that's a big loophole. INEC shouldn't have done that. And many have said INEC should have gone to the courts to get the interpretation of what it meant. But aside that, are you aware that currently as we speak, there are members of the ADC who are saying that, listen, INEC does not have a hand, or the court doesn't have a hand to decide internal party wranglings. I'm sure you're aware of that as well.
But what I can say is very simple. In a situation like this, you see a lot of interpretation left, right, and center, but it doesn't make them right. The courts should be allowed to look into these situations and come out with a very plain and clear definition of what has happened. Now, the INEC chairman that we are talking about is not just a lawyer, but he is a senior advocate of Nigeria. So he also knows the law. For him to take a decision, probably he has also taken a look at it from the legal perspective with his team. But people will always say what they have in mind, interpret things the way they feel they want it to be interpreted. However, they should allow the courts to determine what is on ground, because the matters are before the courts already. So if the courts decide that INEC has done something wrong, like the lawyers that left said, that there are penalties. So let's see what happens moving forward from that.
Now, Dr. Obirie, there are accusations that your party, the ruling All Progressive Congress, is doing a lot of damage to our democratic experience, that their conduct erodes the true meaning and tenets of democracy. They point to the high numbers of governors you have. They also say you're leading Nigeria towards a one-party state. They also say not all of those governors moved because they love what the APC is doing, that there's a lot of coercion and the use of lawfare in terms of EFCC to, get them to move. There's also talks of opposition party members, wherever they gather in different parts of the country, they're not even allowed to sit without one form of issues or the others. And they also point to the fact, the recent convention in Abuja, that they requested for the use of things that belong to our common patrimony as Nigerians, regardless of party affiliation, the Eagle Square and also the International Conference Center. And when they also approached some private event centers, they declined because they said there was pressure from higher ups within the APC that if you go ahead and give these people your venue, we will lose your license or we'll demolish this. How do you respond to those sorts of comments about your party? Is the APC truly democratic, and are they deepening democratic experience with their conduct in the last 3 years?
But these are mere allegations, against our party. It is very simple that when a witch cries at night and a child dies in the morning, the fingers will always point to the witch that cried at night. We were in this country in the past where PDP has 31 governors in the past, and the country did not shift into one party system. These people that are crying now were in PDP at that time when they had majority of governors and the National Assembly in their party. And at that time, nobody cried that Nigeria was moving into a one-party system. Now there's a building that I am seeing behind your picture there. That should be 1004. When that building was at its prime, everybody loved to live in 1004 because it's beautiful. APC is beautiful. We have put together a party that is so inviting that people are now saying that, yes, there is light in this party. Let us move there. Because people are coming into our party in drones. Allegations are coming that they are being coerced. Allegations are coming that they are coming because they don't want to come is because of fear of this or fear of that. No, our party is beautiful and we are doing the right thing at the moment. We are moving the country forward to where it's supposed to be. That is what is enticing everybody to come into our party. Then secondly, on the issue of depriving other political parties from using public properties, that is totally not right because we were here. PDP also did their convention at the stadium. That's not our party. PDP is not APC. It's not our party.
But there's an argument that but there's an argument.
And the minister of FCT is not a member of our party.
But he gives full support to your party. He has said it many times.
And he has endorsed
your party. So how do you expunge that when someone has said, listen,
you cannot link the two together.
How?
There is PDP and there is APC. Wike has never told you that he's a member of APC.
Yeah, but he has openly said he supports the re-election of Mr. President.
That is working in the government of APC does not make him an APC. We have had governors in the past governors who became ministers in this country from AD or from this that served in PDP government. Why is it that because Wike is now serving in our government, then he's now doing the wheels of APC? No, but he has a responsibility.
But Dr.
He has a responsibility as a minister of FCT, and if he sees any reason not to allow people to gather for security's sake or whatever, it's at his discretion. Is his job to keep FCT safe.
Was there any security threat with the ADC convention? Because the truth is...
You wouldn't know because you wouldn't know. You are sitting here, I'm sitting here. We are not privy to security reports. So we cannot discuss that on the TV.
But they just finished their convention. There was no...
The FCT minister is not the Inspector General of Police. And I don't think the Police High Command also issued any threats of breakdown of law and order on that day or any things to allude to that. So it's obvious that because the FCT minister has openly campaigned and is open that he supports the re-election of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. He's also said that the best situation for the PDP would be to produce President Bola Tinubu as a consensus candidate. I mean, it's obvious that the FCT minister's interest is also aligns with the APC's interest, regardless of what party he belongs to. I don't think it's open. I don't think it's open for debate.
No, you are aware that the FCT minister said that he didn't receive any request. You heard him. He made a statement.
Yeah, but when he went for
an inspection, that he never rejected any letter from any political party. So where all these are coming from, this might also be part of the games that ADC is playing to get sympathy of Nigerians. They may have not also applied, and they will be saying that they did.
But there's a document that has the seal and the signature, okay?
Received by the office of the FCT minister.
Dr. Obire, I mean, let's just be honest. I mean, you
wouldn't in a country where everything is possible.
Yeah, but Dr. Bire, you wouldn't forge that type of document because you know what it would do when you go to court. If they take them to court, they can't forge that kind of document. That's a serious, implication on the FCT minister.
But the FCT minister has made his position known.
But
if they are not satisfied with what he has said, I can't stand or say anything on his behalf. So the FCT minister is alive and is there, and should be called to come and explain what happened with that letter. But it should not be tied to APC. This is what I'm trying to say here. It's not APC that said they shouldn't do their convention. They are not the only political parties. PDP has done their own also. And I'm sure other small political parties have also done their convention. So I don't want it. Convention must not be done in Abuja now. You can do convention anywhere.
Okay.
You have Adamawa, you have Rivers, you have Anambra, you have Kano, you have Oshu. They can do convention anywhere now. Even in Benue, they can do the convention in Benue also. So why is it that it must be in Abuja?
Okay, but the APC chose to do it in Abuja now, Anyway, let's leave that conversation so that we don't spend more time. The other critical issues I'd like us to discuss. The inflation rate has gone up again. I don't know if you're aware of that. And currently, the war in the United States of America, the war in Iran, is causing a lot of effect. We understand that. But we see in other countries where its leadership have decided to make life a bit, easier for its people, such as looking at reducing the cost of premium motor spirit. They've gone as far as ensuring that they reduce working hours, especially 4 times in a week in Philippines and the likes. Even Kenya, I'm sure you're aware that the president did mention that we're doing far better than Kenya. Have you seen the response from Kenya, if I may ask? They said no, because they mentioned few things. They have constant power supply. The government has looked into the situation. Remember, they are not an oil-producing state.
It's a more secure country.
Yes, but they've looked at security. They said their people are not being kidnapped and so on, like we are being kidnapped here and there and flogged and beaten to shame with the bandits' faces showing on the camera and screen, and yet these guys are not apprehended. And then they went on to mention so much. The APC is at the center of all of these things. And what we hear is that these things are happening because they want to make the current administration look bad. Please, can you share with us? Is there going to be any succor? Is there any respite with these biting economic challenges and the inflation rate going higher? How do you think people would cope, and how would this affect 2027 for APC?
Now, I want to say it and very clear. Government is not only happening or operational at the center. We have the local government, we have the state government, and the federal government. The state governors has more money as we speak. The local government has more money as we speak. They are a government also. And they have the right and the privilege to do whatever they wish with the money they receive for their people. Now, priority has to be set. Priority has to be set. The governors, the local government chairmen should take a look at what they should do to make sure that the suffering of the people are a bit reduced. Whatever is happening concerning the inflation is a global thing. It's not just a Nigerian thing. It's happening everywhere at the moment because of the war between Iran and America. But as it is, there is no way that a state governor or a local government chairman will say, I want to do X, Y, Z to make sure that my people pains are reduced because of the situation. We must not always wait for the federal government. The federal government is doing its best already in several ways. the federal government is doing its best. Even before this war, this present administration has done so much, even to support students, small businesses, and so many other things that this government has put in place. So they should not wait for Tinubu, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, to be the one to carry the entire load of the country. Nigeria is not Kenya. Kenya, how big is Kenya? Nigeria is not Kenya. We cannot use Nigeria to equate any country in Africa when we talk about issues like this. Then on the issues of insecurity, insecurity has been there for so many years, so many decades. It's not just with this administration. And this administration is doing everything possible to fight this insecurity. And we are still seeing the result. Only that Nigerians only amplify the things that are negative. The ones that the administration is doing, Nigerians don't amplify them, which is wrong. They only push forward the things that are very negative. When our soldiers win in some areas, everywhere will be quiet. They will not celebrate them. They will not motivate them. But when an attack happens on our troops, the internet catch fire the next day. Why are we doing this to our country? Why are we doing this to ourselves? Those that are fighting the war in the war front, they require moral support. They require every support. And the president is doing everything through to make sure that insecurity is brought to its barest minimum in this country. So we cannot use what is happening in Kenya that is not, if you put two states together in this country, they will overrun Kenya. So you cannot put that together and use Nigeria to compare Ghana, Nigeria to compare Kenya or South Africa or this. We are not mates when it comes to
Thank you very
science.
much, Dr. Obirie. But one thing we can agree on is the sanctity of life is universal. So where there's a loss of Nigeria, loss of life in Nigeria, loss of life in Kenya, or in any part of the world, it's a tragedy and it should be treated as so. And by saying that insecurity didn't start today, well, it's the responsibility of the President, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, is sworn oath to the Nigerian Constitution to protect Nigerian lives. And like he said to former President Goodluck Jonathan during the security crisis in his time, that the buck stops at his table. So the buck stops at President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's table. But let's move on to other issues. You said the APC is a beautiful party, and that's why it's attracted governors and many people want to be part of the beautiful things it's doing for the people of this great country of ours. But how do you respond to allegations that these people are not joining because it's beautiful? They're only joining as a way of reputation laundering, because quite a number of them are currently facing allegations, and they've been invited by the EFCC for serious anti-graft issues bordering on corruption to the tune of billions of Nigeria. But all of a sudden, once they join the APC, it seems that the wheels of justice grind really slowly. They seem politically cleaner, and the anti-corruption agencies appear less aggressive towards ruling party figures. They said the corruption narrative gets reframed as political persecution once allies defect, and there are many cases of this. So how do you respond to that? Is it true that when you join the APC, your corruption charges are deodorized?
No, I will tell you categorically no, because these are another set of allegations. If you go to EFCC or ICPC or the courts today, for those that are facing, people that are facing such charges, they are the security agencies and the courts are doing the needful the president has not given an order, or there's no fiat that for anybody that has corruption cases, that because you move into our party, then the corruption cases will be quashed. No, it is not possible. My past governor, my immediate past governor, has a case at the EFCC. That is His Excellency Okowa. The case has not been dropped.
But he just declared. But he just declared.
You will not dictate how EFCC should do their job, or how the court should go ahead with handling cases. It is as simple as that. We should not drag all these issues into our party. If you commit a crime, you will do the time. It is very simple. If you are convicted, if you commit a crime and the court convicts you, you will do the time. There's nothing like because you are an APC member, then your charges will be dropped, or they will allow you to go with the public funds and all that. We have seen cases where public funds have been recovered all over the place. So you cannot say because it's APC, then crime that was committed while they were on the other side will just be swept under the carpet. I don't think it's true. Go there and do your verification. Go to EFCC and get clearer verifications of these accusations on our party.
All right. I mean, time for us to wrap up this conversation. I mean, there's a lot to talk on, but we thank you so much for helping us shed more light. Currently, there's an individual known as Abejide who is an embattled, in quotes, member of the ADC. He was spotted also wearing the insignia hat and is very close to the APC. This has given rise to conversations that maybe is being filled and supported by the APC alongside Nafiu Bala-Gombe, who has, according to what we hear this morning, has spilled on Facebook that he's going to announce those who have been supporting him because it seems support has not come again. And fingers are pointing to the APC. And then lastly, the president, while commissioning the NRS edifice, said to the Senate president he's going to send him to go and scatter the other areas like he has been doing. I mean, all these rhetorics, don't you think it's a negative to the APC? Just 30 seconds if you can answer.
Thank you very much. You see, many people don't know some comic part of the president. When the president mentioned that to the Senate president, it wasn't a tentative statement. It's just a comic thing, and Nigerians ran with it. There is no problem with that. Nobody is destroying anybody's party. And for the person you mentioned wearing APC, wearing Asiwaju's emblem at ADC convention or wherever he was wearing it, it doesn't mean that if you are in ADC, you cannot like somebody else. Liking Asiwaju as a person, because the cap I am wearing right now is Asiwaju. I'm not wearing it because I'm APC. I'm wearing it because I believe in Asiwaju and I love him. That is why I am wearing it. He might also be in ADC and like the person of Asiwaju, not APC as a party. So we need to differentiate personal things, interests from political interests. So he may have loved Asiwaju as a person. That's why he's wearing that. I don't think he wore APC cap to that place. It is Asiwaju cap. And Asiwaju cap does not symbolize APC. It symbolizes President Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
Okay, all right.
But President Tinubu is a member, is a leader of the APC. So
it doesn't matter.
I mean, can you love God and not love his son?
No, it doesn't matter. It's your choice. It's a choice.
All right. Okay. That's what it. Thank you so much, Dr. Berry, for joining us. We really appreciate your time. And we look forward to speak with you again. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity to talk to Nigerians.
Great, great. Very interesting conversation. Well, let's tell you that we'll be talking about the Labour Party as one of the expelled members, as rightly put from the press, and the communique shared with us has arrived at our Abuja studios. He'll be joining us very soon to look at the expulsion and also talk about the Congress of the Labour Party. Will they allow that to happen? Will they not? Binga.
And has he accepted or even seen the resignation? Or is he hearing about it from the press? I guess you'd only find out when we come back from this break. Stay with us. This is Breakfast Central. You're welcome back to Breakfast Central here on News Central Television. It's now time to switch gears and engage in another highly polarized political decision, this time of the Labour Party that happened. I mean, woke up this morning to a communique issued by the Nnedi Usman-led Labour Party mentioning the expulsion of 3 individuals. The individuals are Mr. Lamidi Apapa, Mr. Julius Abure, and Mr. Bayomi Arabambi, who's currently live in our Abuja studio to talk to us about this development. Mr. Arabambi, good morning to you, and thanks for joining us this morning on Breakfast Central. How did you receive the news of your supposed expulsion from the Labour Party, and what's your reaction to that? Were you expecting it? And just let us know how you feel this morning.
Well, thank you so much. I just heard of it, I think from News Central, to be very precise. I just breezed into Abuja this morning, when I was notified. And, for some of us who are referred to as a Pentagon in politics, we are readily prepared, to ward off any manner of, irresponsible opposition. In the Nigerian context of law, when you are told you lack, jurisdiction, when they call decline jurisdiction, I think that is the end, of such matter. I don't know who authored that news, but I would like to call on the Nigerian Medical Association. I think they need to move in swiftly, to help those who deliberately afflicted themselves, with what I will call phantasmagoria affliction, and so that they can deliver them of from their delusion. It is not good, for someone to just be egoistic or to think, you have some form of power that you are not vested with. How can somebody who calls himself a prime minister now be challenging the authority of the president? We do not have prime minister in our constitutional framework. The purported Nnedi, or whatever you call herself, says she's the National Caretaker Committee of Labour Party. And we have a substantive national chairman in person of Barrister Julius Abure. This was the issue that was trashed out, in the Court of Appeal, between them and us, represented by Shivoli Olanipekun, wife, respected, lawyer, Babakano Gabi also, represented them. And even the matter now be adjourned for judgment. But the point I want to make out is this. Nnedi will try, but Obi can never come back to Labour Party. Because we have an agreement even with Governor Lale Soti. Because of the intractable crisis, because of what has happened in Labour Party, we have all settled that we will support the second term ambition of Mr. President, that Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Only while we will support all our governors, all our senators, all our House of Rep. But Nnedi insisted on bringing Obi back into the Labour Party, and that is not going to be possible. She should perish that thought. No matter whosoever that is sponsoring her, she should perish that thought that Peter Obi will come back into the Labour Party, because she was domiciled into the Labour Party by Peter Obi. We know that from inception, because she was part and parcel of the Peter Obi campaign team in the finance, department. So for her to think that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu will not come back, and she will want to use the Labour Party to bring Peter Obi, despite the kind of a crisis that Obi caused, Obi fomented in Labour Party. You still think that Obi should come and run for president. in Labour Party, because she knows Obi can never pick the ADC ticket. All of you were there in their convention when he said, when you monetize, when you dollarize, when you monetize something, he is not going to be part of it. There's no way you go for a convention, you expect all the delegates all the delegates to go and sell their house and buy a flight ticket to come to Abuja to come and elect you. The kind of mumu, that we consider, that we consent, we gave him when he came to Labour Party. It's not going to work. So Nenadi is just an appendage of Peter Obi. She's only deceiving herself. She wanted to be as our Labour Party president candidate, and that is not going to work. Abure and Governor Lesotho have all agreed. In principle, I am on here now, that we will return, we will support Bola Ahmed Tinubu, because this presidency belongs to Southwest, it's not to the South. Because she came with a fictitious news the other day that, Labour Party is not the presidency to South. No, it is to Southwest, because it is our own turn to complete the 8 years. Obi has his time, but rather, Obi messes up that time with some human rights and beast and dodo activities in person of Aisha Yusufu. They were the one that messed that election up. It wasn't Tinubu that made us to lose 4.7 million votes from 53,000 polling units, where they failed to feed agents, in the 2023 election. So we will not be beaten the second time. Once beaten twice shy, we are not going to allow anybody to beat us for the second time. So the issue, why they are trying this nonsense, is that we have agreed. Governor Lesotho has agreed with the Abure, National Committee, that all of us are going to work for the emergence of, President Tinubu for another 4 years, which this woman from nowhere, from ADC, from PDP, was now working assiduously with Mr. Peter Obi to bring him back through the back door, and such a thought should be perished. It's not going to work in our Labour Party. That is just, the reason for all these political rat matters, that you are seeing on television now.
But many people listening to you this morning, just to mention, we have a short time to work with, but many people watching you this morning would say that they've heard you pronounce Peter Obi many times. And Peter Obi is no longer in the party now.
Exactly, he's a member of the ADC.
So,
what has your suspension? Watch what is going on. See, we are politicians.
What has your suspension and that of Julius expulsion, I beg your pardon, what has it got to do with Peter Obi?
I've just told you that a prime minister cannot come and challenge the authority of the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Okay. It is just a political analogy, where you said you are national caretaker, and it is not in our constitution. And let me be very honest, Supreme Court is very clear. Party must obey their constitution. That was what Justice Mary Odili, between, I think, Senator Magnus Abbey, yes, and Rotimi Amechi, when they lost, the ACN lost the chance to fight for governorship against Governor Wike then. The Supreme Court is very clear that parties must obey their constitution. In our constitution, we do not have the office of national caretaker. Number two, what we are challenging in the Court of Appeal, when judgment has been reserved, is that no court has the power to preside over internal affairs of a political party. All of them are fighting for ADC because they are all together. But they were not saying that when they played out in Labour Party, where a judge of a federal court should pretend over judgment of Supreme Court and said he can interpret it, knowing fully well that even Supreme Court cannot amend their own judgment other than even for clerical errors. I am here on international television. The Chief Justice is listening to me. The NBA President is listening to me. If I said anything contrary to what the rule says, I am open to police investigation. But I am saying that even Supreme Court cannot, they have forbidden themselves from even interpreting from even amending their own judgment. That is what is happening. So what they are doing is nothing but just a political rat matter. That we not stand ourselves.
You're entitled to your opinion, and we invited you to have a discussion here. But for the sake of our viewers watching, I would like to state some facts as what is out there. As at today, as we speak, the official INEC website recognizes Senator Nenadi Usman as the national chairman of the Labour Party. Our status is listed as being held by court order. The recognition followed significant legal shifts in early 2026 this year. Judicial affirmation in January 2026, the Federal High Court in Abuja, presided over by Justice Peter Lifu, ordered INEC to recognize the Nenedu Usman-led National Caretaker Committee as the only valid authority of the party. It also, the courts also ruled that Julius Abure's tenure had expired and that his claim to the chairmanship
please, at that junction,
citing Supreme Court directions. So
no, at that junction, please, can you show me the portion that the Supreme Court says tenure of Abure has expired and I will drop 100,000 for you here? Please read the portion to Nigerians where Supreme Court said Abure tenure has expired. Please read it out. As a matter
of fact, I mean, what we're talking about is the genuine leadership. And on the INEC website, the Senator Nenedu Usman led, it says Senator Nenedu Usman is the national chairman of your party, and they have expelled you as at yesterday. So that's the premise we're working on, and we don't have the secrecy of the Supreme Court.
I want all of us to be careful about one fact. When the Federal Court ordered David Mark's name to be thrown out of the INEC portal, every analyst, human rights, Beans and Dodo, KTV, they were on air. Oh, the court allowed that jurisdiction because of their hatred for unity in Nigeria. But when it was Barrister Julius Abure, you are reading what we call ratio decidency and obiter dictum. When a judge is advising you, it is not part of a judgment. I've just told you that no lawyer, whether SAN or anybody, has ever been able to come to show Nigerians that portion of the judgment that say, oh, Abure tenure expire. It is all lies. So no tenure, because I'm coming. Supreme Court has said, court lack jurisdiction to pronounce leadership. But what you just read stated that they should recognize. No, that's what Supreme Court is saying. That court do not meddle into the affairs of political party. But even if you are saying that is what court says, so no problem. 2027 is coming. All of us will come back to not be twisting our law, in the end. All of us will come back.
Mr. Arabambi, the body that is responsible constitutionally to conduct elections in Nigeria, the only body that is allowed to conduct elections and announce results, has recognized Nenedu Usman as the national chairman of your party. Is on the website.
They were not the one.
Anything else is
they were not the
contrary to the truth. So let's just move on from this.
No, they were not the one that recognized it, sir. Please, they were not the one. See, you are international television. I don't want you to mislead people. I've just challenged you. Or I don't mind. I can wait in Abuja tomorrow. Can they bring the judgment of the Supreme Court and I will bring the CTC? Let them bring the CTC. Okay. Then the police check for all downstairs and see anybody that committed perjury among us. Okay. I am telling you for fact that there is nothing like that. Justice Lifu said they should be recognized. And we have all gone to Supreme Court whether any junior court has the right to make pronouncement on leadership. And I have also said this was the same thing that they played out, that they want Nigeria to burn because they removed David Mark away based on the court that everybody said, oh, the court that internal political party is not justiciable.
Mr. Arabambi, your case and that of the ADC is quite different, and we've seen it, and it's glaring. It's quite different.
What is the difference?
But let me explain. Mr. Arabambi, we're out of time, but to make good use of this conversation, we'd like you to just answer the following questions just very quickly, please. Yes. And so that we can look forward to, we're speaking to Julius Abure, and I spoke with him, I think about last week. We're trying to have him on the program. So this would be a good opportunity for you to also please put a call through to him so that we can agree on the date and time next week so he can be here at the Abuja studios. We want to have him also speak. But these are my questions, and I beg Benga to please permit me to ask these questions very quickly because of time. One, I would like you to answer quickly. Are you still a member of the Labour Party?
I am the National Vice Chairman, Southwest of Labour Party.
Okay. Two, the INEC portal, like my colleague here just said, does not recognize Julius Abure as the caretaker or as the chairman, but recognizes Usman. Can you answer that you do not?
In the interim, based on the purported order of Justice Lifu, which will be set aside in the Court of Appeal.
Okay, to be set aside in the Court of Appeal.
Yes.
Okay, fine. And thirdly, have you received the letter of your expulsion?
See, let me tell you, it is practically impossible. When you are calling for, restitution, it is not the business of Satan to call angel of Jesus Christ to call for restitution. No, it is an abomination for Nenadi to even have the audacity to be proclaiming we are leaders that we are suspended. She lacked the jurisdiction. She doesn't have that power, and nothing short of that. So, if for them, you cannot call, angels to call for restitution. It is people in the camp of Satan that will call for restitution so that they can be purged of their sin. We are in the camp of our Lord Jesus Christ. They are in the camp of the Lucifer. So we have nothing to do together. And whatever you hear them saying outside is nothing but Aaron Badadash, unconstitutional, irresponsible statement and political harakiri that we were not going to bother ourselves with. For us, we know, Nenadi, please hear me today, you cannot bring Peter Obi back into Labour Party. You cannot bring him back. We are your sponsor. We are your leader. Governor Lesotho has agreed to work for the opportunity and emergence of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And I start to be challenged by any one of them that what I'm saying is a lie. I challenge them, let them come here and tell me it's a lie. We have the fact that we are going to Nigerians.
Finally, Mr. Arabambi, my colleague asked earlier that he did state that Mr. Peter Obi is no longer in the Labour Party and is.
He didn't resign.
Okay.
Please, can any one of you show me video or clip when Obi resigned from Labour Party? No TV station has it, but we have that of El-Rufai, we have that of the former governor of Sokoto, we have that of Atiku, we have that of Aviation. You see, Obi is like a political mascot. Obi is a political mascot that will cover his head, and you know he's the one moving. But I am telling you for fact, Obi is a member of Labour Party. He will not contest a presidential primary in ADC. Please, mark me out today. I know Obi is a political command. Yeah, people like us, we are Pentagon. You don't think you can just play on our intelligence. Nenadi is working for Peter Obi, and that will not work. He's not going to have, he's not going to see light of the day.
Finally, Mr. Arabambi, we need to wrap up now. My final question to you is, your party, or your former party, depending on if you've received the expulsion letter or not, but the Nenadi Usman-led leadership of your party said they've expelled you. The Labour Party did very well, surprisingly well, in the 2023 elections, amassing millions of votes. And today, you're telling us that you and Mr. Julius Abure, I don't know under what capacity, have decided to endorse President Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
And Governor Lesotho.
I won't say that because I haven't seen any evidence of that. But
it's on your TV. You were there. I saw your TV when he declared intention. Please, don't be economical with the truth.
No,
I saw him. You are there in his press conference. You were there in his press conference when he said they will not produce candidates against Mr. President.
It's on the endorsement of Mr. President as your candidate for 2027. Isn't that doing a huge disservice to the millions of Nigerians that stood out in the sun to vote for Mr. Peter Obi and the Labour Party in the last elections? And are you saying that there are no other viable Nigerians, even if you say you zoned it to the southwest, that you can put up, and as a democratic, your party, and for you to abandon the tenets, the principles, the manifesto of your party, and endorse the ruling party? Under what capacity have you done that? And are you doing it in the best interest of Nigerians? Are you doing it in the best interest of Nigerians? And are there pecuniary gains? Is the whole Labour Party leadership agreeing with you? Are they on board with this?
I'm coming. In 2023, I told you, we lost 4.8 million votes due to Mr. Peter Obi and these human rights based and dodo, activists, Aisha Yusufu. I've said that so many times. Now, who could be more democratic for someone who campaigned against criminal structure and now abandoning with that same structure? That's the kind of person you want us to trust. A man who deliberately made sure we were in disarray in Labour Party simply because he has an eye on the financial pulse of the party. Today, he has gone to meet the people he campaigned against with this your human rights and dodo activist, Aisha Yusufu. They were all together accusing those in the ADC then Now, why can you tell me that the people who poison our system are now coming with a prescription for solution? That is the people you see in ADC. Who are the people that imported darkness into Nigeria? Atiku with $60 billion. Nobody has asked questions. The trend they did from Maradi, to Jibia, to Niger. What have become of it? The man, Baba Rafu, that's the former governor of Osun. Do you know how many civil servants died? That is the man that was paying 30% salary. And you think they will come and tell people like us that, oh, come and trust us. Come and trust you to do what? They have nothing to do. They say they are hungry. People that have spent 24 years in government, they say they are hungry. Let me tell you why we are supporting Tinubu. It's not because of any peculiar gain. We all supported Peter Obi. I didn't vote for Tinubu in 2023 because we believe Peter Obi came to rescue Nigeria. But he came to make money. So I am not going to be duped the second time. And he was running from pillar to post. Why did he leave Abga? He was in Abga, he was in PDP, he came to Labour. They gave him everything. He now went and brought Aisha Yusufu as our national chairman, who superintended over the party account. But they made away with a lot of money. They forgot that we were to win. But the Supreme Court threw out our 4.8 million votes because they said we didn't have a gain. If Obi has been able to comport himself, do you think we will not be in the saddle of leadership? That was a man who was going to meet the people he campaigned against in 2022. We are not follow politicians. So for us, it is our time. Southwest have to complete their term. And the man is doing well. He inherited what
all right, okay, Mr.
Buhari possesses, and he's doing it best. But like I said, Abure-led National Committee, Governor Peter Obi, we have all agreed. The only problem we have now is Nenadi Usman, who said he will never support that decision, but rather Peter Obi, and it's not going to work as fast as we are concerned.
And we can end it here because we understand why she would say so. It's quite a difficult and normally, if you put it that way, a situation where you have a chairman of a party who's calling the shots, and then she has others who are also calling the shots differently. But let's not talk further. Give us your guarantees on Tuesday if we can have you and Mr. Julius Abure join us live in our Abuja studios to continue this conversation, looking at it from a different angle entirely. We'll talk to you off cameras. But thank you so much for speaking with us, and I'm sure the audience have gotten a taste of what really is happening. Thanks for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
All right. We'll go on a quick break. We'll take a look at the front pages very quickly. We must sincerely apologize. I mean, sometimes Breakfast Central is always eating up.
No,
and when it happens like that, you cannot help but continue to stare the cooking pot. We'll go on a break. We'll be right back. Stay with us. All right. Wada Hime joins us this morning very briefly. I mean, it's going to be an abridged version of the front pages of the newspapers. Wade, thank you so much for being here.
Good morning, Joe.
Morning, Wade.
Good morning, Benga.
Yeah, I will try and pack in as much as we can today.
Well, is the time available?
If we can do that. Let's start off first with the big one. Let's see if we have some of the papers. Let's put up our very first paper this morning. I think I'm going to go with this Nigeria. Yep, there it is. 33 states at risk. Water Resources Minister raises the alarm, advises states and FCT to brace up for surge. Let's focus on jet fuel price. Nigerian airline operators threaten shutdown. What does that mean? We're going to have the press release as well. We're going to put it up there.
On the airline operators of Nigeria.
But yeah, let's look at that. The impact. What does that mean? I mean, they're crying that A1 fuel was selling for 900 naira. It's now risen to 3,300 naira. And so far so good. The government is pointing to the Iran-US war as one of these challenges, but we'll see other countries doing. Anyway, what's your take on that?
So Jet A1 fuel is probably the most expensive amongst all. Are you with me? Because of the special nature of Jet A1. So from 900 to 3,000, that's a lot. But there are also a lot of taxes that are inbuilt in that. I remember last year when I traveled, about 40% of the ticket was fuel tax. Tickets that cost me about 2.5, about 1 million was fuel tax. And that's the reason, and one of the reasons why Jet A1 is really expensive.
So airline operators are saying they will shut down on the 20th. In a few days' time. What can be done to avert that shutdown?
Well, so some of the things I think they can do is first and foremost reduce the taxes on Jet A1 so that at least people can still fly. Otherwise, we're already seeing tickets at 250, 300. You'll probably be seeing tickets at, this is about 3 times the amount already. So you'll probably be seeing tickets about 600 just on one side. So about 1.2 million to fly locally.
Locally?
Oh, yeah. That's minus maintenance. We saw, I think it was United. I heard somewhere this morning that I think it was the Minister of Aviation says it's costing them about 2.5 billion in terms of maintenance and so on. And it's cost them that amount. Why? Because of frequent bird strikes. And they've had about 5 in the last 6 months for different airlines. So the airline business is expensive. We all know that. But jet fuel is probably is the most expensive part of it.
It's the fuel.
Yeah, it's the fuel. It is. And because of the sophistication of Jet A1 and the kind of equipment, storage that you require for any small particle in Jet A1 fuel, it can kill people. Although they say the least dangerous accidents happen in the air. But one accident in the air, you know what it means.
So in other words, Nigerians should brace up. We hope that the government would respond to that because they're giving us till 20th. So they have 4 days, barely 4 days.
And talking about bracing up, that leads us to the headline of this Nigerian flood. There are 3 states at risk. A water resources minister raises the alarm, advises states and FCT to brace up. So how do we brace up?
So we brace up by preparing ourselves for those rains. You guys were already in the studio when it started raining this morning. Oh, yeah. It was heavy. I went through it.
Yeah, I could feel it.
I mean, I've gotten footage that it's flooded.
Yeah. It had already started flooding, and if it continues to rain, my plan was to go towards the island, but I'm just going to go back home and work from home. But the fact remains that we should brace up for it. Our drainages are not as good as we expect them to be. Roads will flood temporarily, but as long as the rain is not continuous. But for those who live on lower grounds and where you have river overflows and all, they should brace up and say, okay, let's look for temporary spaces where
the Lagos State government has also created a pump station to channel excess water, storm water, to direct it to the lagoon. So that should offer some support.
Well, so it should.
Honorable Tokunbo Wahab.
And it should, yes, in reality. But if the rains are continuous in the high seas, and a lot of it comes back into the lagoon, so the ocean swelling, lagoons will swell, you pour more water into it, it's going to come back for as long as the channel is not continually flowing, which brings about the drainage system. Are the drainage systems in Lagos or across Nigeria, are they flowing constantly? Because that's how you manage storm.
Beyond Lagos, there are 3 states at risk. How many states are left in the entire federation?
Anyway, I'd like us to look at Nigerian Tribune. I mean, Nigerian Tribune is one paper that kind of like highlights one of the very key aspects I've been talking about in the past 1 month. The front big story there. Nigeria's insecurity has reached state of war. ACF. Defense Minister Zulum orders a 10th burial of soldiers killed in Borno attack. They were men of uncommon courage, Musa says. When we spoke earlier this week, last week rather, we had a former general join us, and I asked the question, are we at a state of war? And, you know, someone said, no, you can't say you're in a state of war because it has to be approved by the National Assembly, the president signed off, and so on. But what do you make of social media agog with videos, TikTok of these assailants, braggadocious, bragging that, listen, we're going to take out your people, we don't care who they are, kidnappings heightened, killings, and then everything seems okay, it's fine. And now the generals are being targeted. That's what the governor also alluded to after we had also mentioned it here from last week, that it seems like there is a purported goal to target the generals, especially in the army. But what's your take, definitely? Do you think it's starting to look like this is war? Not war from the Nigerian army, but war from the assailants, bringing it to Nigerians and Nigerian army?
So this is my opinion. We've been in a state of war over the last 15 years. Is it 15 years? About 15 years. And why do I say that? Today's war is no longer your conventional kind of war, where one person declares the war. Terrorism, being in an atmosphere of terrorism is a state of war because you are continually fighting different insurgents in different areas. Now, acknowledging it and making it official, which I don't think the National Assembly will ratify, are you with me? And that's my opinion. But we've been in a state of war for the last 15 years. They're bringing it now to the military because I think, in my opinion, they feel that if we can decapitate the military, then we stand a chance of overrunning the system as a whole. However, we've been in that state of war, and I commend the Nigerian military, despite all the inadequacies. They have really, really been able to defend Nigeria for the last 15 years. Security, the security apparatus in Nigeria, with all the restraints and all the difficulties, they've done a great job, really. And I don't see the political will to help them fight, whether you call it insurgency or war. But as we've seen with US and Iran, wars are no longer conventional. They are strategic, they are driven by technology, and they are driven by economic issues. And that's what you see. So whether it's kidnapping is to get the ransom, and it all comes back to economy, so that you can get more ammunitions, you can get more updated technology, and so on and so forth. And that's it.
Interesting times. Let's go back to the front page of that newspaper there. Inflation rate rose to 15.38% in March, according to Nigeria Bureau of Statistics. Let's look at Atiku. I mean, 2027 election will be my last outing. Do you think this will be a dent on the obedience? And what are we looking at here?
How do you interpret this news?
Exactly.
How do I interpret it?
How do you interpret it?
Atiku has the right to run for presidency. That's how I interpret it, and that's what he's expressing, that he would like to. He hasn't said officially that he will contest in the primaries for the presidential elections. But he's making his intent known that he could, depending on the politics that is played at the back and what comes out of it. But he has a right as a Nigerian to run for presidency.
Let's quickly look at this story. I mean, as a matter of national importance, it's very important we talk about it because it's our collective patrimony, it's our money. Can we go back to this Nigeria? 210 trillion naira. Senate orders NNPCL boss Ojulari ex-CEO Kyari to face panel. Give fresh 2 weeks ultimatum to management to provide details of alleged missing accruals. 210 trillion, that's a lot of money. Number one, is it the Senate's responsibility, or should law enforcement be looking at this case of, missing funds? And number two, do you think anything great will come out of this? Will there be persecutions? Are we going to get answers to this missing monies?
Yes, they have a responsibility. The National Assembly has a responsibility from the oversight function.
Yes.
And based on that, they could issue orders to the security agencies to do more investigation and find out what it's all about. But this is not new. This is not the first time they've invited Kyari. And now that they've added the new NNPC boss, is also to see whether he has been able, that's my opinion, whether he's been able to... Yeah, the audit, what has. And my last question will be this, because I haven't read those details, but I know that this has been ongoing. They said this is the last time they are calling them. That means they've called them a few times before. This amount is for which period?
Good question.
Because we remember in 2011, it was $49 million, and then it went to 25, and then we ended up at 10. Is it billion naira? Then it was billion naira. And then we ended up at 10. But the one thing I would say from my own experience is this. There's always a need to do a reconciliation. Let's not throw figures up in the air when we don't understand how these things work. I know a lot of Nigerians, they tell me, oh, it's not true, they've stolen the money. No. I've been part of working in the oil and gas. I understand how, when it was the swaps, how it worked and how reconciliations were done. And even many times, NNPC received funds from those who managed that process. Because if you don't see the contracts and you don't understand how the contracts work, then you just believe that when person says, oh, he took 1 million barrels and at 100 naira per barrel, that's $100 million that Nigerians have stolen. That's not true. There's a cost element to it. It's a selling price that is $100. What happens to the cost? Are you not going to pay those who brought it out of the ground? Are those people not going to pay their staff?
Yeah.
There are joint venture costs. There are banks that fund some of those things. They're not going to pay them their interest and all. So all those things are important that we understand. And rather than, like I continue to say, we in the media, stop throwing headlines just for the sake of the headlines.
Well, it's the headlines that sell the papers.
And I agree. But we as analysts also, but we as analysts also have to go into the details.
Deeper.
Are you
And be responsible.
And be responsible. And that's what we're trying to do in New Central.
I agree. And that's exactly what New Central does. I mean, just today we had spoken to an APC chieftain to break it down on what the APC is doing with some of the recent issues. And then we doubled it up with the Labour Party's release, having a Labour Party member to speak.
Expelled Labour Party member.
By ensuring that we had...
Since we're talking about details.
And very detailed lawyers who have proven beyond limits that they are indeed sharp to break down the status quo.
Antebellum. Either status quo or ordinary status quo or status quo antebellum.
And as you guys are talking, you know what came to my mind? And please, viewers, I apologize for this. The law is an ass.
Yeah, it's a donkey.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what an ass
is. It's a donkey.
Yes.
And why do I say that? Your last guest continued to speak about the Supreme Court. Your second guest was more interested in what the court said.
So it's subject to different interpretation. But
thank you so much
we
for
have
watching.
to go.
We've had it.
Shout out to Olive Emodi.
Yeah, Olive.
We miss you.
All the best. We miss
and
you.
Don't forget to bring my
And thanks to all our commenters on YouTube. We'll take your comments tomorrow. Join us then. Thank you. Right. Bye.
And thank you, Ade.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.